Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltari, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. We have been focusing our attention on les filles mariées and les filles du roi over the last several years, and I wanted to let you know that we are on episode 66 this episode. Very exciting. We're marching along. There are 262 filles mariées, so we've still got quite a ways to go. But until then, I want to say thank you to all of you who have been such supporters of this channel. I want to also encourage you to, for those of you who have not yet done so, if you want to subscribe, like, and notify these videos, subscribe to the videos so that you become alerted to any and all content, and also the notification as soon as I post something, you'll get a little notice, a little bell. And obviously, like means the like part of it helps with the logarithms of having my videos seen. And the next couple of ways are ways to support the channel, which is Ko-fi and Patreon, which are external platforms. And then we have PayPal, and we also have PayPal you can find on my Have Roots Will Travel. By the way, on my Have Roots Will Travel website, that's where you can find the links to the past episode, and there's an index and all that. So those of you who are interested, you can have a look. It's easier somehow than looking through all of the YouTube. And we also have now a super thanks that YouTube has instituted as well. So all of that being said, I want to say thank you to all of you who have contributed thus far. Again, really, really, really appreciate your support. Let's get started and get to know our filles mariées of episode 66. Les filles mariées were a group of ladies who came to New France between 1634 and 1662. Yes, they were the original filles du roi, except they didn't get any money. They came alone. They weren't in a big group. They didn't have a lot of fanfare, and certainly the king wasn't paying them. They did get usually their passage paid and that sort of thing, and they agreed to get married in New France, but they also had a choice. But we only had about 262 ladies that came that way in about a 28-year cycle, which works out to about 10 a year. So obviously, the founding of New France was not a huge success, and that is why les filles du roi came in such droves. So let's have a look at les filles à marier that we are going to feature for this episode. The viewer who requested episode 66, Catherine Gourget, was, at one point I thought, I've never seen Catherine. And then all of a sudden I started checking my own tree, and I realized that she was one of my great-grandmoms. So it was a thrill I hadn't gone all that way on that particular line. So yes, I share this fille mariée with my viewer. So let's explore Catherine's life. Catherine was born in 1617 in a small commune called Thury, which eventually became Thury-Harcourt, and then would become Thury-Harcourt-le-Homme, which of course is in France. She is from the Normandy region of France, and inside of that region, she is from the Calvados département. The church that she was baptized in is the church Saint-Sauveur, which dated from the 12th century. This image that you see before you is the renovation and the renovated church. It was completely demolished many times over during the centuries. Now, I have put down a couple of names here, and I wanted to just kind of pay homage to the fact that Catherine comes from a region that is kind of renowned. And in the 16th century, many families emigrated to Canada from this area, taking with them leur curé, which is their priest, Jean Le Sart. He was the priest at Église Saint-Sauveur. And then we have Pierre Le Gardeur de Repentigny and his son, Jean-Baptiste Le Gardeur de Repentigny. So Pierre would become a very major player in New France and would give his name to the towns of Le Gardeur and Repentigny. His son Jean-Baptiste would become the first mayor of Quebec City and would inherit the seigneuries of his father. Catherine would come to New France very early on, 1640. Can you imagine what she she would encounter. But obviously, the people from her village were also part of that emigration pattern. So on some level, she felt, I would say, in French we say encadrée, she was supported by them as well. He would select, and he would select her. His name was Nicolas Bonhomme de Beaupré, and he was born in 1611 in a place called Fécamp in France. Sainte Croix is the name of the church that he would have been baptized in. His parents were Nicolas Bonhomme and Marie Gaillon. Now, he is from the Normandy region, as she was, so they're both Normandins. And he comes from the region or the département just next to Calvados, Seine-Maritime. There are about 19,000 people who live in Fécamp. It is a city steeped in rich history and legend, and it is said to have been founded in the late medieval period. The city's founding legend tells of I love this story and I had to tell you, tells of a fig tree trunk carrying the precious blood of Christ, collected by Joseph of Arimathea, I can't say it well, washing ashore on its riverbank in the 1st century. This event led to a miraculous fountain of holy blood gushing forth, attracting numerous medieval pilgrims and enhancing the city's reputation. The monks justifies the city's name, Vichy campus, as the camp of the fig tree. In the 7th century, Saint Leger found refuge in Fécamp during his exile. The city's significance grew in 932 when William I of Normandy, also known as Long Sword, established a castle that served as a residence of the Dukes of Normandy until 1204. This castle witnessed the births of many Norman dukes, including Richard I and Richard II. The city's community system was granted by King John of England in 1202. However, the city faced devastation in 1412, and it was truly razed by the English, only to be freed from English occupation in 1449. So that's, about 39 years. Fécamp's involvement in the wars of religion ended in July of 1593 when the captain de Rosé rallied the city to Henry IV of France following his conversion to Catholicism. The city also holds historical significance for England, as it was the landing site of Charles II of England in October of 1651, following his defeat at the Battle of Worcester by Cromwell. Thus, Fécamp stands as a testament to the truly intertwining histories of France and England, shaped by religion, royalty, and resilience. I had to write this all out because I couldn't believe it when I was reading all of this information. Truly a place I need to visit one day. So they were married September 2nd, 1640. I've included this is the marriage contract, and it can be found on a website that I have put in the notes, so you can go and click on it and download it for yourselves as well. They would settle, Nicolas and Catherine would settle down in Quebec City first. And remember, this is 1640, so it was only about 32 years after Samuel de Champlain had actually built this city from the ground up. Some of these buildings weren't even there that I'm showing you. So eventually they would come. So they predate all of this. But Quebec City obviously was founded in 1608 by Samuel de Champlain, who built it. And he also built the city walls. And those walls are still present in parts of Quebec City. And they're the only city in North America that still retains those old kind of protective walls or fortress walls. Quebec was originally named that name by the Algonquin Indians, who named the area Quebec, K-E-B-E-C, which in their native language meant where the river narrows. Quebec City lies where the St. Lawrence River narrows. And so the buildings that you see here are actually post our couple, but I wanted to illustrate this was the flavor of that time. The bottom here is Le Petit Champlain, which claims to be the oldest shopping district in North America, actually. And then we have the oldest private residence. It dates from 1675, and it is now a a wonderful restaurant called Aux Anciens Canadiens, which you can visit and you can just kind of absorb that kind of flavor. And these are kind of old maps of Quebec City just to give you that flavor. Move up to Sillery. And Sillery is now one of the boroughs of Quebec City, but for well over 3 centuries, it was its own independent city. In 2002, Sillery, along with other small cities, was amalgamated into the larger region of Quebec City. Sillery was first established as Canada's first Indian reserve. It was named Saint Joseph, and the money for establishing the first settlement was provided by Noël Boulard de Sillery. Unfortunately, the native population fell victim to disease and other issues, and the reserve failed. The town was eventually named Sillery in honor of its benefactor and would become an important player on so many levels, not the least of which the lumber industry of Quebec. On the upper left of your screen is a picture of Sillery's riverfront, and I like to think that that's kind of what they saw back in the 16th century to some degree. And this is the map of Sillery, so you can kind of see where it is in relationship to Quebec. And this upper right map is all of the little towns that kind of got amalgamated. And then on the bottom right is the Maison des Jésuites de Sillery, or the Jesuits' House of Sillery. A fort was created here in the mid-1600s and would have been present during the time of Nicolas and Catherine. The actual house was the one built after the fort burned down twice and dates from 1703 to 1730 for construction. They go on to have 7 children. Marie-Madeleine would die at 1 year of age. Guillaume would marry Françoise Huchet and would have 12 children, 7 of whom would make it to adulthood. Françoise was a fille du roi who we have not yet profiled. Now, isn't that something that Guillaume was the son of a fille mariée who marries a fille du roi? This perfectly embodies what Quebec was all about at that time. Would marry Agnes Moret and have 9 children, 7 of whom would make it to adulthood. He then would marry Anne Poirier and have 3 children, 1 of whom would make it to adulthood. Now, his first wife, Agnes's mother, was Hélène Desportes, who was the first white child born in North America. Marie would marry Jeannot, but did not have any children. Pierre would die at 20. Nicolas would marry Marie-Thérèse Levasseur and have 12 children, 9 of whom would make it to adulthood. And Catherine would marry Jacques Berthiaume and have 8 children, 5 of whom would make it to adulthood. So we have the 1666 census. We have Nicolas, who's 63, Catherine, so they're getting up there, Ignace, Pierre, Nicolas, Catherine, and they have Thomas Gourdget, who is a domestic engagé. So this fellow had come to Quebec and was working out a contract, as many of them did. In 1667, we have Nicolas, Catherine, Ignace, Pierre, Nicolas, Catherine. There's Thomas again. He stayed with them. And they have 5 beasts, which are like 5 bulls or 5 animals. And they have 40 alpha-vala. Can you imagine? 40, that's about 35 to 38 acres of land. They eventually settle at Ancienne Lorette, which goes back to 1674 when the Jesuit Pierre Chaumont built a chapel on this site for the Hurons who had been forced to flee their homeland by the Iroquois. The original church of l'Ancienne Lorette, Notre-Dame de l'Annonciation, was set up as a mission in 1698, the year following the departure of the Hurons, who had moved northward closer to their hunting ground. The old village center along Rue Notre-Dame is rich in architectural heritage and parks. Notre-Dame de l'Annonciation Church, however, with its 2 impressive steeples, monopolizes the attention of anyone who comes along. L'Ancienne Lorette City Center also contains Le Théâtre de la Fenière, the oldest and best known of Quebec's summer theaters. Catherine would leave first. She would die on April 9, 1679, at the age of 62. She and Nicolas would have been married an astonishing 48 years, and they would, by 1729, have produced an even more astonishing 297 descendants. So by 1681 census, we have Nicolas, and there's Catherine, who we know died 2 years prior. So the old saying, don't believe everything you read. We have proof that Catherine died. We just, obviously the census taker probably just said, what's your wife's name? And he wrote it down and passed it. You know, you can just imagine. And then he has 1 cow, and he has 20 alfalfa, about 18 acres of land. And Nicolas would pass away himself on August 7th, 1683, at the age of 72. And as you can imagine, Nicolas is absolutely featured in our French-Canadian ancestors in volume 16. And I have included in chapter 6, and I've included the link to the fabulous Facebook group called Our Free French-Canadian Ancestors, who contain all of these files, so you can download a copy of the book. If you have a library that has all these volumes, that would be awesome. But they're very hard to find. So it was a thrill of my life when I discovered this particular Facebook group, because I had been searching for so many of these volumes. There were about, I don't know, I think there's like 28 of them. Just incredible series of books. And contained in that book as well is the variations of Bonhomme and Beaubry. Bonhomme, Dulac, Beribourg, Belair, Brisset, Courchaine, Desaviers, Désert, Fortin, and Xavier. Remember that as they would have sons, and their sons would have sons, or their daughters, or that sort of thing, you would eventually have a D name that would, to differentiate yourself. But you obviously all started as Bonhomme, and eventually that's the name Fortin, for example. You could have Fortin as a name and then all of a sudden realize that this could be yours as well. So have a look at that and see if somewhere in your tree you might actually have and be a descendant of this incredible couple. And as always, the resources I love to feature. Today I'm going to feature Maple Stars and Stripes. There's a website and a podcast. You need to listen to this. It's like a crash course and then a PhD in Quebec history and everything to do with the beginnings of New France, and all of it that you could possibly imagine is contained in How to Search Ancestry for French Canadian. She goes into different series on, I remember one that was about an African American in New France. So you can't imagine all of the wonderful, wonderful episodes and how much information you will glean from this incredible, incredible podcast. Have a listen and look at, I've got all of the links for all of these websites in the notes. Have a look and see if it can help you to further your research. What an incredible story that was, to be able to come to New France in 1640. Can you imagine? 6 years before, they had just kind of reacquired New France. This was the very, very beginning, and she was there, and just a remarkable lady who was there to come from. The place that she came from was obviously an area that was very, very much a pioneer, adventurous spirit, as so many of her fellow people from her village had come. So I think that that's part of her story as well, that she was, one of the reasons she came so early is others from her village were able to kind of pave the way for her. But still, to have left almost 300 descendants, just a remarkable journey. And of course, she is my grandmama. So I want to say thank you to grandmama for your perseverance, for your existence, and for making certain that those of us who carry on your legacy are there to make certain that we are honoring your presence and your determination and your ability to withstand so much hardship. Thank you, grandmama. Much love. And I also want to extend lots and lots of gratitude to my patrons and supporters. I couldn't do this without you. So thank you to you, my patrons, supporters, and subscribers. All of you contribute to the Have Ritual Travel, and as it grows, I really thank you. So until I see you on episode 67, I will say au revoir until next time.